So today I want to talk about a hidden gem of a cartoon that I came across called Randy Cunningham Ninth Grade Ninja. It aired back on Disney XD from 2012 to 2015, so over 10 years ago. It did have a modest run of 2 seasons, being total of 50 episodes with 100 segments. And I'd never heard this one before, never heard of it talked about. I know a lot of those Disney cartoons from Disney to Disney XD, like the side channel they had, do get pretty popular, like from older ones from when I grew up, like Kim Possible and Proud Family. This aired about the same time as Phineas and Ferb and Gravity Falls, and then of course you have like your Ducktales, your Owl House, your Amphibia. So I don't know why I got lost in the shuffle, but I first came across it a few months ago. For some reason, the YouTube algorithm was feeding me clips from it, which weren't as clear. I just remember seeing these clips and seeing, hey, that looks like Invader Zim, but it's not. Is this like a new project? I have to look into it more. So, the style of the show, the visual design definitely was recognizable, and I like, okay, that looks very familiar. But what the hell is this show? So I did a little research and found out that the creator of Invader Zim, Jordan Vasquez, worked on it as a character designer of the show, so I don't think he had too much involvement besides that. It was created by a Jed Elinoff and Scott Thomas. I wasn't able to find much about the creators or any other project worked on, but yeah, this seemed like I never heard of this show. It does look cool. It feels like that's strange because it feels like it ticks a lot of boxes for a successful Disney cartoon, but for some reason it just didn't seem as popular, just from my bubble looking into it. And as I got into it, it seems just as good as any show, so I was surprised I haven't heard much about it. Maybe it was overshadowed by other shows that aired at the time, like I said, Phineas and Ferb and Gravity Falls, but it does have a really great cast. It feels like it has all the right stuff. I just don't know why it wasn't as big as a hit. But again, 100 segments, 50 episodes, 2 seasons, it did have a pretty good run. So the main plot of the show, it's kind of your basic, like, high school student saves the day, so maybe that's why I got lost in the shuffle, like there's so many shows like that. But it takes place in a town called Northville, which is protected by a ninja from an evil sorcerer. More so, the focus is on the high school as a setting, but kind of like the whole town. And then we find out that there's a new ninja selected every 4 years. So I believe it's like 800 years the ninja's been protecting the high school, but like every 4 years, a new ninja takes over the duties. And that brings the title character Randy being chosen as the next ninja. And one of the big things about the show is that he must keep the identity a secret. The main antagonist, the villain of the show, the sorcerer, is imprisoned underneath the high school and trying to break out. And he wants to like defeat the ninja and take over, destroying the town and all that. Just his reign of evil and all that. One of the big like mechanics with the villain is that he's able to transform others, mostly students at the high school, who have like negative emotions, more so like embarrassment, anger, all that. Kind of like they call it the term stinkified. So he like transforms the high schoolers into monsters, for the most part, high schoolers, and the ninja has to like defeat them and save the day. And then the other main antagonist, named Hannibal McFist, he's like a millionaire businessman. And he's also working on defeating the ninja because he's promised by the sorcerer to get granted powers. And he's like not necessarily evil. I'll get into that as well. But like he kind of like runs a lot of things, like making a bunch of gadgets. Like Miss McFist Industries makes like a bunch of gadgets. They even have a theme park, even candy and stuff like that. So he's kind of like the successful millionaire, like almost beloved by the town. And then ongoing thing with the show is that Randy is guided by a book filled with like it's a tome filled with knowledge, wisdom, all that, called the Necronomicon. So that's kind of like a story beat that constantly hit every episode. Like it gives him wisdom, kind of sets the theme of each segment, each episode. So what I like about the show is the humor. I feel like they're constantly, keeping up and telling jokes, being funny throughout the episodes, the storytelling, and a lot of fun action too, whether it be the sorcerer transforming students into monsters at ninja fights, and also the antagonist, Hannibal McFist, his industries also makes a bunch of robots that try to defeat the ninjas. So either it's a bunch of fighting robots or monsters, like typical like I don't like cartoon stuff when it comes to like action cartoons. It does remind me strongly of Kim Possible, which is a little bit older series, and it's very fun. I also like the variety of settings, characters, and all that. So I feel like they keep things fresh and all that. Even though like most of the like antagonist is pretty much focused on either the sorcerer or Hannibal McFist. And like I said, it has a great cast of voice actors. For example, it has Ben Schwartz as Randy, and one of my favorites, John DiMaggio as Hannibal McFist, and you also have Tim Curry as the sorcerer. So it's like Sonic the Hedgehog as the ninja, and Bender. Actually, strangely enough, it's funny that I bring up Kim Possible because John DiMaggio's portrayal of Hannibal McFist is very similar to Dr. Kraken, which he played in Kim Possible. So very fun voice actors, and maybe it's just me getting a little bit older, watching more cartoon and stuff like that. But I just like recognize all these voices, like, oh, that's Robin from Teen Titans, or that's Aunt Gail from Bob's Burgers. So it has a really good, strong cast, and that's why it kind of almost confuses me why it's not as big of a cartoon, at least from my knowledge of it. But definitely my favorite character is Hannibal McFist. Again, John DiMaggio is one of my favorite voice actors. And I think he does a really strong. This is probably one of my favorite roles that he's done. Second to like Bender and King Zog, for examples. But I love the character design. And one thing I really like about McFist is that it's not just like an evil bad guy. I feel like he's a little misguided. Like he's just doing this to get powers, but not knowing the consequences of what if the ninja is defeated and the sorcerer comes out. And you see like a lot of fun moments as well. Like you see him being a husband, you see him being a stepfather and all that. And also he has his assistant scientist Viceroy, which I like the chemistry as well. Again, going back to Kim Possible, kind of reminds me of Dr. Kraken and Shigo. That I like that kind of chemistry where they kind of bounce off each other without being like a dumb underling or henchman or stuff like that. So I really like that aspect of it. And also wanted to mention, going back to the main character, Randy, he does have his best friend, Howard. And they play off well together. They're like, it's a lot of high school, like, relatable slice of life of stuff too. Like, want to be popular, loving video games and stuff like that. So it's a kind of a lot of, like, high school elements to the cartoon, the show as well. So I did want to talk about some things that might have hindered the show a bit. Because, again, I don't see much talked about the show, much praise overall. I think one thing that was kind of like a double-edged sword to it was the design. And I really like it. Again, I love Joan Vasquez. I saw from little visuals I saw before checking out the show, like, oh, that reminds me of Invader Zim. But I wonder if that would kind of backfire in a way. Like, if people are like, oh, this looks like Invader Zim, so I'm going to like it, and then it's not. Like, it's very different humor. I feel like Invader Zim had a lot of dark humor to it and all that. And it can go on, like, comparing the shows, so I'm not sure if that caused disappointment, like saying, hey, is this like Invader Zim? Oh, no, it doesn't. It just kind of looks like it, like it's a knockoff. But I do really like it, but I wonder how that hindered the show. Another thing, the show has a very episodic nature, where it kind of feels like it kind of like rinse, repeats, resets. And I feel like more with modern cartoons, we see those story arcs and all that. And maybe by this time that change was going on. Like Gravity Falls, like, aired about the same time, it had a lot more of a narrative. So I feel like that rinse and repeat kind of gets old, even though things are changing in terms of like the settings, the plot. So it doesn't feel like too repetitive, but you kind of get that lack of development with the characters. Like, for example, it's common trope that like the Ninja Nomicon in that book will give like wisdom advice to Randy, and a lot of times he'll just like either like dismiss it or misinterpret it and all that. And even some episodes like Randy swears like, okay, I'll always listen to your Ninja Nomicon and all that, but then he kind of like resets where he gets annoyed and dismissive again. And also want to talk about some points with the friend Howard. Again, I feel like they complement each other really well. They bounce off each other in terms of cartoons, but it gets kind of like this reoccurring story beat that Howard gets really annoyed with Randy being a ninja. One thing I do have to praise, I do like that Howard knows he's a ninja, because that's a big thing about the show is that he keeps his identity secret, but at least he doesn't have to keep that away from his best friend. And even the show sets up like Randy and Howard are huge fans of the ninja before he even becomes a ninja. So it's like, oh, this iconic like gushing over the ninja. And then Howard just kind of becomes really annoyed, like Randy has to like save the day or fight this monster, fight these robots, and all that. So it kind of feels kind of weird that even though he thought the ninja was so awesome, but now he gets really annoyed by it. Yeah, and then it also has that mix from Howard, like he points out where he can benefit from the ninja and Randy beat a ninja to just be annoyed. And I think a lot of that stems from like they have that little story beat as well that Howard can't spend time with his best friend because he's off saving the day and all that. So it does make some interesting story points, but sometimes it gets kind of annoying and repetitive with like, oh great, you had to be the ninja out and do all that. And one thing I think would be kind of cool, which they never really done in the show, is if Howard would be more helpful. There's some episodes that he is actually helps contribute to the fight, but I wish it would kind of like again have the story arc or character development where like maybe Howard will control like a remote robot that helps fight along with the ninja. Kind of give a video game aspect since he loves video games, so I think kind of cool if they did kind of that to kind of more of a sidekick versus just the a best friend that gets annoyed by this or that. And one thing I think might drag down the show is the humor. Although I like it, I enjoy the show, but I feel like it's more of appealing to young males, and that can kind of alienate the audience. Like it's very kind of, it can be like very immature but fun. It has like gamer kind of like high school guy humor. So I feel like the appeal is more towards that, towards a general audience. And some things that kind of I don't know if it makes you feel old or anything like that, but some of the slang they use, like "what the juice," I think that's like "what the hell," and they also talk about like cheese, like you totally cheesed it or something like that. So some of the slang almost feels like it's made up for the show. I'm not sure if people actually talk that way and all that. But I kind of wish they would again they would have more arcing stories, more ongoing storytelling telling versus just wrapping up in the 15 minutes or whatever, like the segment. So it feels like things get like wrapped up. I think it still goes well. But there's even some times, like in the second season, that they actually do explore that a little bit. I don't want to spoil too much about the show, but during the second season, one of the students, the fellow classmates, get exposed to the sorcerer's power and like splits into an evil form, and that evil form of that student becomes like a antagonist as well. That kind of goes ongoing. So I feel like they do that just a tiny bit, but it feels like not enough to make the whole show compelling. So kind of wish they would have done that. And the last few things, it's stuff that I just think would make the show a little bit more interesting if they would have touched more on Randy having the love life or love interest, which it kind of touch on with one student, but just barely. And also, they never show Randy's parents, which kind of seems strange because they do have adults in the show. They even showed his best friend Howard's father, so I'm not sure why they avoid having Randy interact with any family members. It almost seems like he's like the only person living at his home. But I think that'd be more interesting to have Randy's parents, love interest, and kind of have that balance between like a love life, a family life, and his secret identity of the ninja, his duty of protecting the town and high school and all that. So some stuff I felt they could add, at least stuff they could also build on top of to kind of have an ongoing development with its story, character, and all that. It's going to set the show end. I do recommend it. But I'm not sure if we're ever going to see more of it because the show did kind of have the last episode I felt was a okay point to end a series, but it kind of left it open like, hey, there's still more to come. But unfortunately, we don't see more. So again, I do recommend it. You can watch it on the Disney Plus. And I never heard of it before seeing these clips on YouTube. So I just wonder how underrated. I had a hard time even seeing like a reception to the series, like how well it performed, especially with its huge cast, a lot of recognizable names. It seems like it has all the right stuff to be a successful, popular cartoon, especially for Disney XD. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about the show. But just wanted to kind of blurb and talk about it and all that. And thanks for listening to ramble on about the show. And let me know what else you want me to talk about. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.